Hello dear student, welcome on this video lecture. And in this lecture we will be moving forward and start discussing permanent magnet or bar magnet. What is a permanent magnet, what is a bar magnet, and what the properties it carry, we are going to discuss in this in detail. So far we have discussed one thing, that if there is a current element, so there is going to be magnetic field. That means for magnetic field to create, there has to be some current or some charge movement. That's what we have understood, and we have calculated various magnetic fields or magnetic field because of various current distributions. Now you must have observed that there are some magnetic materials. So there are some magnet, and those magnet, if you have two magnets and you place close by, they might be attracting and repelling each other. So their attraction and repulsion comes because of the magnetic force. So the point is that a bar magnet, there is some material, that material has a magnetic field its own. So how a material can have a magnetic field its own? So for that, let's have some insight. So there are certain materials which create the magnetic field even though there is no appearing current that is flowing through them. So how that magnetic field is coming in? So in that matter or in any matter, if we look at, let's say this is a material. Out of this material, if we consider any small part and we see what goes inside. So if you or you can say you are breaking that material to the molecular level, then atomic level, then ultimately what you're going to get is a nucleus. And in this nucleus there are going to be surrounding electrons moving, or orbits. In those orbits these electrons are moving. Now you see the charge is in the two form. Either it is in the form of proton, which is at the nucleus, another is in the form of electron, which is orbiting. Now you'll find this proton which is in the rest condition. So these protons are going to produce field called electric field. So because of proton there will be electric field coming in. So that's why material have electric properties. Moreover, these electrons are moving on a circle. So these electrons are moving, that means they are basically creating a current. So we can say there is a current running. So electrons are presenting basically a current carrying loop, and because of that current carrying loop there is going to be magnetic field. So for magnetic field these electrons are responsible. Now there are not only one single molecule, there are a numerous amount of molecules. But yes, each molecule, each electron orbit is going to produce one electric current, or it will be like a current carrying circular loop. Now there are certain material which align their molecules in such a way that all the magnetic fields gets added up. So if all the magnetic fields get added up, so you will find a strong magnetic field coming in. And there are several materials which randomly align their molecules or these orbitals. So they will find they will create nutshell no magnetic field, because magnetic field is a vector quantity. In order to find the net value, what we need to do, we need to sum of all the magnetic fields coming because of each and every orbital that has electron moving. So this result comes out to be 0 for most of the materials, but for some of the materials it is non-zero. That means they have aligned in a specific way. Hence there is going to be B net, that means total magnetic field. Hence this material is going to show some magnetic field. And if the material is showing some magnetic field, that material is known as permanent material or permanent magnet or bar magnet. Permanent because no matter in which condition you place this material, it will maintain that magnetic field, because this magnetic field is coming because of internal arrangement, and that internal arrangement will remain the same as long as the material is the same. That's why this is named as a permanent magnet. Why we call it as a bar magnet? Generally we take it as in the shape of bar, so it's called a bar magnet. So let's draw a bar magnet. So it looks like this. So this is in sort of bar or in appearance of bar, And there are certain properties you must be knowing, or you just learn over here. There is going to be two poles. One pole is in this direction, or in at this point, let's say we call it as a north pole. Another pole is in another end side, it is called south pole. So there are two poles. So basically it's making a dipole. That's the one pole, that's another pole. And we know if we place another bar magnet close by this, then you'll find they're going to interact. Why they're going to interact? Because we have just understood both are going to represent their magnetic fields. So if another we have placed like this, that this is the north, this is the south, so there will be one kind of interaction between these two poles or these two permanent magnets. Another case could be when we are placing in this way, that means we are having these opposite poles close by. In this case, you'll find their interactions are going to be different than the earlier arrangement. So there are two figures I am showing over here. So how to see what kind of interaction they are going to have, we will be learning them more in detail shortly, but you must be knowing this, or at least you can remember now onwards. When you have a north pole, that means like poles close by, so these like poles repel and unlike poles they attract, and then whatever the close poles are, they are going to be in domination, or their effect will be in domination. So you'll find these in this arrangement there will be a repulsive force, repulsion, and this arrangement is going to be attractive in nature. That means what? Meaning is simply this, that in this particular scenario you'll find this bar magnet is going to experience a force which is going to be this repulsive in nature. So force direction will be somewhere there. This will experience force like this, this will experience force like this. In this case you'll find they are going to be attractive, so force will be pulling each other close by. So point is, unlike poles they attract each other, whereas the like poles they repel each other. Okay, so these poles are going to be known as a pole strength as well, and there are going to be two poles. So we can say a bar magnet is basically dipole. And in dipole there are two poles. One is called north pole, N for north. There's a north pole, and S for south, so that's called south pole. And the point that we have noted down, that this like poles they repel each other, unlike poles they attract each other. Moreover, if we say one pole, so one pole is not feasible. That means in bar magnet or in here you'll find we cannot find a bar magnet or a magnet permanent which has only one pole. So let's say this is north, this is south, and let's say somebody breaks it down. If you break it down to make it into two parts, so you might get some sort of this, and another you might get this. So it appears like there's a north and there's going to be south. As soon as you separate them, you will find immediately this will become north and this will become south. So that means whenever we break down any bar magnet or any material that has a magnet, you will find it will always have both the poles, north pole as well as south pole. And that's why we say monopole cannot exist. So there's a point coming in, monopole in bar magnet cannot exist. Monopole does not exist. It's going to be always in pair. So even if you fragment it, they are always going to create the pair. That means another way of thinking is this, that if you add them up you can get this, if you break this you will get this. So that means they can be converted. That means if you join these together, then this north and south they can come together to nullify each other. And if you break it down, so from nothing they can create both north as well as south. It's just like from zero charge we can create plus q charge and minus q charge, if you remember in induction. So similarly, from zero or from nothing we can get a north pole as well as south pole. So this is something, some basic thing about permanent magnet. Now we will talk about this permanent magnet or bar magnet, whatever this we are talking about. This carries the magnetic field. So what type of this magnetic field is, what is magnetic field lines, and all this stuff we are going to talk about in this case. Before we move towards magnetic field lines and their descriptions, let's see about the striking symmetry between electrostatic and magnetostatic or magnetic or magnetism that we are studying. So let's talk about first, in short, what we have understood in electrostatics, or we can say in what we have learned in electrostatics. So in electrostatic we started with something called charge. When we say charge, we mean electrostatic charge. Now, electrostatic properties or quantities or definitions, they are going to be they are very similar, that is in going to be in magnetic field or magnetism. So the field of this magnetism is sometimes known as magnetostatics. So this magnetostatics, that means these permanent magnets and all that, and they have striking similarity with the electrostatic. So here we used to have a charge which is basically called electric charge, and that we used to represent by Q. Similarly, here we are going to define some definitions or quantities in order to make that similarity clear. So here we will be defining one charge again. So that charge is going to be known as magnetic charge. Magnetic charge. And we will be defining this magnetic charge as pole strength. So we have just talked about a bar magnet, right? So in bar magnet you will find there are two poles. One is the north pole and there is a south pole. And then there are some materials or some magnets which are strong. That means they strongly repel and attract, and some are weaker. So how to decide which one is stronger, which one is weaker? So for that sake, we define a pole strength. Pole strength. And this pole strength is also known as magnetic charge. And this is, we are going to indicate by letter M, small m. So by small m, we are going to indicate magnetic charge, which is also going to be known as pole strength. It's going to behave very similar to the electric charge that we have talked about. We know in electric charge, this charge is of two types. This carries plus sign as well as minus sign. It could be zero as well. So here, this north pole will be known as plus m. That means its pole strength or magnetic charge is plus m. And the south pole is going to be treated as a minus m. That means its pole strength is minus m. So this is positively charged magnetically, and this is negatively charged magnetically. That means magnetic charge is also positive as well as negative. Then in electrostatics, we have talked about this force, Coulomb's force. So force is defined as, or we can say force and field relation we have talked about. So first this was force. Force is defined as K, the constant, into Q divided by R square, R cap. This is because of a point charge. Or let's say, since we are talking about the force, so there has to be two charge, Q1 and Q2. Q1 and Q2, R cap. This is how we define the Coulomb's law. So similarly, we can also define a force over here. This force is electrostatic force. Here we are going to define magnetostatic force. So what the force is going to be in magnetism if the charge is M. So if there are two charges, M1 and M2. So we are going to write the K of this. Now there is a difference in K. This K is 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught. and the k that is going to come over here is going to be different. This comes out to be mu naught upon 4 pi. So mu naught upon 4 pi, that's going to be k into m1 m2 divided by r square r cap. You see, exactly similar force is being defined over here corresponding to magnetic charge or pole strength. Then there was another definition that we have gone through, that was a field calculation, how to get the field. So field comes out to be force per unit charge. Moreover, field because of a point charge, if you remember, so that came out to be kq upon r square r cap. So similarly here also we will be defining the magnetic field as magnetic force per unit magnetic charge. And because of one point magnetic charge or monopole that you can call, if there exists a monopole, so what the field is going to be because of that monopole? So that field is going to be k, which is going to be mu naught upon 4 pi into pole strength divided by r square in the direction of r cap. So it's like that we are replacing this q by m and that k constant by respective constant of magnetostatic, and we are creating the same kind of basic formulas. Since we are creating the same kind of basic formulas, then all other derivative formulas are going to be follow the same similarity, right? And then we can further go ahead and we can talk about other aspects. Just like we talked about this dipole, so that dipole is going to be of more important. So electrostatic dipole or dipole moment, P was defined as the charge and the separation between the 2 point charges, and this was the arrangement when there was a plus q charge and there was a minus q charge, and there was a d distance in between. You remember that? Now exactly similar thing we can create over here, and we can say if there is a positive magnetic dipole or charge or pole strength and there is a negative, then this arrangement is going to be have like a magnetic dipole moment, and this magnetic dipole moment we define by or denote by capital M. Remember, magnetic dipole moment we denote by capital M or mu. Both are acceptable. Here in bar magnets or permanent magnets we use this capital M. So this capital M, that's magnetic dipole, it will be defined in a very similar way like this. So can we say it's going to be a magnetic charge, which is small m, and the distance gap between them, that is d or L. Generally we call it as L. So if we call it as L, so we can use L instead of d. Both are going to be representing the same thing. So you will get similarity in magnetic dipole moment and electric dipole moment. Now after coming to this point, you will find we are able to relate this bar magnet. Now if you look at this bar magnet, what is this? Is it basically this arrangement? Yes. So since this is representing magnetic dipoles, so about the bar magnet we can discuss in detail by using this correlation, that this bar magnet is basically magnetic dipole moment, and for that magnetic dipole moment there is need to be having one pole strength plus and another minus, and we can relate it. Now this similarity does not end over here, it can carry on further, like next point that we can think of, they have a symmetry, is going to be this: when you place this dipole, you in some external field, what the force it experience, what the torque it experience, how much work is being done, what is the magnetic field or electric field because of this, similar thing can be copied over here. So basically we are creating a mirror image of this from electro to magneto, and we are trying to maintain the same logic or symmetry or the similarity that they are having, right? For instance, torque that we have already talked about, but still can be true for this bar magnet here in magnetism. So if we compare with this electrostatic, it comes out to be P cross E, and if we talk about this stored energies, come out to be minus P dot E. Then you'll find in bar magnet or permanent magnet or in magnetostatic, if you place M magnet magnet in some field, then it's going to experience a torque, and that torque is going to be m cross b. And if you talk about this energy required or stored energy, that's going to be minus m dot b. This we have proved to a certain extent when we use this mu for current carrying loop, and you will find this is nothing but collection of current carrying loop. So it's going to be again similar to this. Moreover, we can find out the electric field due to a dipole. We know the electric field formation or calculation because of a electric dipole. Using that similarity, we can also find out the magnetic field because of magnetic dipole. And once we are able to find the magnetic field because of magnetic dipole, that means we can find the magnetic field because of a bar magnet, because bar magnet is nothing but magnetic dipole. So this comparison has been created, or you can say this pole strength has been defined for a purpose, and that purpose is to make the similarity in formulation in the two chapters, that is electrostatic and magnetostatic. Now what we are going to do, we are going to calculate what the bar magnet, this magnetic dipole moment is. So whenever there is going to be a bar magnet, every bar magnet is going to have a magnetic dipole moment, capital M. And this is small m is a pole strength, so there's a difference. And that means if we know the capital M value of a bar magnet, that means we know the magnetic dipole moment. Once we know the magnetic dipole moment, we can find out what the magnetic field because of this is going to be. That means we will be able to find out what the magnetic field because of bar magnet is going to be. So once we got the magnetic field, then we can understand or and study the interaction between two bar magnets, how they interact, how much the force they apply, how much repulsion and attraction is going to be there. Now from magnetic dipole moment to magnetic field, how we are going to relate, for that thing we are going to use this concept of analogy or symmetry, or this comparison that we are doing over here, because here we know, because of electric dipole moment, we know how to calculate this electric field. Similarly, we are going to use this magnetic dipole to calculate the magnetic field. Okay, so let's proceed a bit more and give into detail how we can use this M, and how we can calculate the magnetic field due to a bar magnet. So next point we can discuss under this heading, magnetic field due to a bar magnet. So let's say we are having a bar magnet. So till now we have understood that if this is a bar magnet, then it's going to have two poles. One is going to be known as a north pole, another is going to be known as a south pole. We have also understood that we can say them as a pole strength or magnetic charge. So that's a plus M, that's going to be minus M. Now there are some other points that we can discuss over here. Is this, if you measure, this is a solid body, right? Since it's a solid body, so we can measure its length. If you measure this length from this end to this end, this is going to be length known as geometric length. We can call it L or any number. So that's basically geometric length, because it's because of geometry. But we know, in order to find out the magnetic dipole moment, we need to know the distance between the poles. Whereas the distance between the poles is going to be this. That means poles are slightly inside from the boundary or edge. So this is going to be L length that we are interested in. So let's say this is L, or we can call it as a D, whatever we want. So let's say I'm calling it as a L. So this L is going to be known as magnetic distance. So L we are going to use, that's called magnetic distance or length, magnetic length of a bar magnet. So magnetic length is smaller than this geometric length. And for generally in a bar magnet, you will find the ratio, that means magnetic length is going to be smaller and the geometric length is going to be larger. So this ratio is going to be geometric length. This is going to be roughly 0.84. So roughly is 0.84. That means if the geometric length is given to us, from there we can find the magnetic length. That's our purpose. Because if a bar magnet is given to you, or if you are in laboratory and there's a bar magnet, you need to use that bar magnet. So for that purpose, in the bar magnet you will not be able to decide where is the north, where is the south, because north south they are not appearing. They are there but they are not appearing, right? So what we can physically measure is the total length, that is geometric length. And once we are able to measure geometric length, and since we are going to require this magnetic length, so how we can get this? We can get the magnetic length is going to be equal to 0.84 into geometric length. So by multiplying geometric length with this 0.84 number, we can get the L value, which is going to be useful for us. So that's why this particular relation is told to you. Now let's move ahead and we talk about this bar magnet's magnetic dipole moment. So we can say magnetic dipole moment of this bar magnet is going to be given by this m, which is going to be equal to small m into L. L is the length. So we can say also this is vector quantity, so this is going to be vector, and we know this vector direction, that means it is running from plus, this is running from minus to plus. So that means this is going to have a magnetic dipole moment, that means we can represent this like this, running from minus to plus, that means from south to north. So this entire bar magnet can be simply represented by a vector quantity and arrow like this, and this is going to be known as m. Now arrow of where from where to where, that means this is going to be south, just like a negative charge, this is going to be north, just like a positive charge. And you can compare it with this electrostatic or electric dipole moment. Now m is going to be indicating this magnetic charge, L is going to be the length, and it's a vector running from south towards north. So that's what it is. Okay, so that's a magnetic dipole. Now let's assume for the time being that for a bar magnet, this magnetic dipole moment is given to us. So that means we know the capital M. That's what we are assuming as of now. And later on we will be learning how to get this m value, how to get this L value. L value calculation we have just talked about. So how to get this m value, that we need to still talk about. Once we get this m, then this capital M will be clear for us. So for the time being we are assuming that this capital M is known to us about a bar magnet. So that means this situation is given to us, and now we are interested in finding the magnetic field because of this. So how we are going to find that magnetic field? For that sake we are going to use the correlation with the electrostatic. So we will say this is a bar magnet, this is magnetic dipole moment, just like electric dipole moment. And I'm not going to do the derivation, I'm going to simply copy the outcome by comparing it with electrostatic. So if this is m, where we used to write p, if you remember, then for any point address, what we used to do, we used to measure everything from the center. So we will measure everything from the center, and let's say this is at a distance r apart. There's a point. At this point we are interested in finding magnetic field. You remember we used to measure angle in a very specific manner from the positive direction of dipole to the line joining the point of interest. At this point, what the magnetic field is going to be because of this magnetic dipole moment, or you can say ultimately because of a bar magnet. So at this point, magnetic field will have two components, just like electric field, and one component is going to be in the radial direction, and that we can call as a magnetic field in the radial direction, BR. Another is going to be in perpendicular direction, that we call in a tangential direction, that's called B theta. If you compare with electrostatic dipole moment, we are simply copying it. Here we used to write ER, here we used to write E theta. And then we are also going to copy their result, that means final answer as well. So if you recall radial component, so you'll find radial component here is going to be, by comparing that in electrostatic, if I recall for you, is going to be twice Kp cos theta upon Rq. So we are going to just write that twice K. In place of K, we are going to write the constant in magnetostatic, that's a mu naught upon 4 pi, that's a constant. So twice constant into dipole. Now the dipole is written as M instead of P, into cos theta divided by R cube. Cos theta divided by R cube. So that's going to be radial component of magnetic field. Similarly, we can write the component in the tangential direction by comparison. That used to be Kp sin theta upon R cube. So K mu naught upon 4 pi. Magnetic dipole, that's M, capital M, sin theta divided by R cube. You remember when we talked about those electrostatic dipole, we talked about this on the axis and on this perpendicular bisector. Same story we can also do over here. Since we have written this final result, then to find the field at any location, you need to simply place the theta and R, you will get your answer. So that means these are final answers. So once you have written this BR, B theta, we can find what the B is going to be. So since they are in the 90 degrees, so you are going to write it as a square root of BR square plus B theta square. If you simplify, you will get this B expression as well. You will find the common thing will come outside, so it will be mu naught upon 4 pi, that's a constant, into M upon R cube, that's also going to be common. And this will be 2 cos theta whole square plus sin theta whole square, and you will know that 1 sin square theta plus cos square theta will come together, and it will become 1 plus 3 cos square theta. Very similar as you had seen earlier, right? So this is a formula for net magnetic field at that point, and what that net magnetic field will be directed to. So that's direction is going to be somewhere in between. So that's going to be the direction of magnetic field, which is in nutshell. And we can also find out what this magnetic field makes an angle with the one of the direction, let's say BR. So this alpha we can calculate. And if you remember this alpha, so we used to write this tan alpha as B theta component divided by BR component. Now theta component is written over here, R component is written over here. If you divide, you'll find they will get cancelled out, and exactly same formula will be delivered, that is half tan theta. And half tan theta will become the tan alpha value, where alpha is the angle of the resultant field from the radial direction. So these all derivations can be thought exactly similar to that of electric dipole moment. So we have just copied from there, and that derivation are so important that we are able to find the magnetic field at any location because of this bar magnet. So because of this bar magnet, we can find the magnetic field at any location, because you just think this M is basically a bar magnet that has been placed over here. So it's indicating a bar magnet, and with this poles, this is north pole and this is south pole. So from this bar magnet, we can find the field at this point for any R, for any theta. So we can cover the entire space of this surrounding this bar magnet. And at all location, the magnetic field is given by this expression, where the two variables we need to know, what is R, what is theta. And we can also talk about in terms of component BR and B theta. So all these expressions are extremely important, and they are coming because of comparison with the electrostatic. Now, in this, we have presumed that what this M is. So first of all, we need to settle down what this M is, and this M is coming because of this magnetic charge as well as this length we have talked about. So we will talk about shortly what this is, how we can calculate this small m. But in practical life, for any bar magnet, we simply calculate directly this m. So this m is just to understand that theoretical model to compare the two concepts. And in practical or in laboratory, whenever you are going to go there for a bar magnet, you will directly get the value of capital M. And once you get the value of capital M, it's over, because this is going to be the constant. Capital M is given to you, R will be the location, theta will be the location. That means we can talk about the entire left and this right hand side. Hence we can find the magnetic field at any location. Okay. And this is the magnetic field. Now we can write down all aspects of magnetic field, like how much magnitude it carries, where it is, in what direction it is. That can be thought of. Fine. Now let's try to calculate, or understand at least, how to calculate the pole strength of bar magnet. So let's say we are having a bar magnet, and this bar magnet has this as a north pole, this has a south pole. So till now we have understood that this is going to have a magnetic field, because it will have a magnetic dipole. And what that magnetic dipole is going to be, we can say this is going to represent a magnetic dipole like this. So that's a magnetic dipole, and it will be running from south towards north. So that's it. And let's consider one more case in which this is a current carrying loop, because we know this bar magnet ultimately getting its magnetic properties because of current carrying loops. That means electrons orbiting in this surrounding the nucleus, and their combined effect is going to be a current carrying loop. So that means we can compare this with the current carrying loop. That's what we are trying to do over here. So let's say we are having this current carrying loop, and this current carrying loop carries current I. So if there's a current I, and let's say this broken part is indicating that inside, and this bold part is outside. So we can see how the current is looking like. That means if someone looks from here, he will find the current is in clockwise sense, and if somebody watching from here, this person will find the current is going to be in anti-clockwise sense. So after measuring this sense, we can say as per this sense, this is also going to represent a magnetic dipole moment, and that magnetic dipole moment will be pointing in this direction, because it follows the perpendicular to the loop and sense of this current, which we used to write by mu, or we can use this m. So basically this is also a dipole, this is also a dipole, and both are going to be similar. So we can compare these two concepts. So we can say this must be identical to each other or equivalent to each other. Now this concept of current carrying loop creating a magnetic dipole, we have talked about using the concepts that we were learning, and this was from a hypothetical model in which we assumed it to be magnetic dipole, and we assumed it to be a magnetic dipole strength, or you say magnetic charge. This is what assumption that we said, that's why I said it's a hypothetical, right? And this is because of the theory. So both are to be compared. Once we compare them, then we can say what the small m is going to be. Now you say this mu, how we write this mu? Let's say this goes as a radius, and that radius is let's say smaller, or let's say a radii. So how we are going to write mu? Mu is going to be written as I into a, which is going to be pi r square. And how we write this capital M? We have understood to write this capital M as m is equal to small m into the length between north and south, this length. Since they are the same physical quantities, so their formulas must be identical. So what we are doing, we are comparing mu vector with the m vector. They are the same thing. Now we have arranged in this way. That means this is having the same direction, this is having the same direction. This will help us to solve the questions wherever the bar magnet is given to us. If you don't like this bar magnet calculation, you replace that bar magnet by this loop. And once you replace by this loop, you have solved these kind of questions. So your answer will be there, because you can replace that bar magnet by a current carrying loop. For that replacement, what needs to be done? So this is going to be giving us the relation mu and m. There has to be equal direction, so that we have equated the directions, and it's going to be I into a is equal to small m into L. So from here we can find the expression of this magnetic charge, which is small m. It's going to be I into a, area of that loop, divided by the length, magnetic length. Now this formula will let us know what should be the unit of pole strength, how we can calculate the pole strength, and related stuff. If we talk about what the unit it is going to carry, you can catch from here. So unit of small m pole strength or magnetic charge is going to be equal to, and this is going to be ampere, this is going to be meter square, this is going to be meter. So you can think of is going to be ampere meter. So that becomes a question, what is the unit of magnetic charge? Because for electric charge it's a coulomb. Here we are not going to say any other name. We are going to calculate from here. It's going to be ampere and meter. A for ampere, here A for area. I hope you are making the difference. So point is, wherever you get a bar magnet, replace that bar magnet by a current carrying loop. You need to keep in mind, you need to replace in such a manner, or that means you need to give the current in such a manner that the direction of magnetic dipole from this should be equal to the direction of magnetic dipole because of the current. And magnetic dipole direction in bar magnet is from south towards north, and this follows right hand rule. So by comparing this, we can easily convert this bar magnet into current carrying wire or loop, and once we have done over here, then all the calculations are going to be very easy or similar to the one that we have already done. So this is how we have understood how to get this small m by comparison. Once we know this is small m, then we know this capital M, it's going to be m into L. Once we got this capital M, then we know the magnetic field. So this is the entire idea in this magnetic static. We define a magnetic charge to find out magnetic dipole due to a bar magnet, and once we got to that, we can get the magnetic field because of a bar magnet. Once we got this magnetic field, we can use this magnetic field for various purpose, to creating external magnetic field, or to study interaction between two dipoles, or any other purpose, right? Okay, so just make your notes and copy it down. Now let's say we have a solenoid. So we can think of the solenoid which is having current like this as shown over here. So we can think of that this is going to be basically collection of current carrying loops, and these current carrying loops are basically bar magnets. So we can say, if you look at this loop, this is going to have a dipole moment as per our right hand rule, because the current is running like this. So we can think of, if we curl our right hand in this manner, so it's going to have a dipole, small dipole moment in this way. So we can create, this is going to be a bar magnet like this, and this will be behaving like north pole, this will be behaving like south pole. Can we see the next one is also behaving like a bar magnet, having this north and this south. I can make it a bit larger. So that's going to be north, that's going to be south. Similarly, next is going to behave like this bar magnet with this north pole, this south pole, and you can keep on writing, and finally you are going to get this is going to be again in the similar order. And thus we have talked about, you can combine them together to make a bigger one, then you can combine all of them together. So basically this is going to be behave like a bar magnet like this, and in this bar magnet there will be two poles, this is going to be south pole, this is going to be north pole. So we can say a solenoid is nothing but a bar magnet, right? So if we need to find the field because of solenoid, we need to know simply because of a bar magnet, or otherwise if we need to know for the magnetic field because of a bar the solenoid, we can use this bar magnet. So either way we can think of, that means they are the similar thing. So this is how a current carrying loop can always be represented by a bar magnet, or a bar magnet can be represented by a current carrying loop, because they are the same thing. The last point for this video is magnetic field lines of a bar magnet. So magnetic field lines are basically imaginary lines exactly similar to that of the case of electrostatic field lines. So magnetic field lines, they are imaginary. They virtually represent the entire space with the magnetic field. So they are also called magnetic force of lines. So they give us the magnitude of magnetic field at different location. At least we can compare them. We can get the direction by drawing the tangent at that point. All the properties that we have understood in case of electrostatic field lines, they are going to be true. And then there will be some properties of magnetic field lines. I'm telling them that those properties in short, like they are continuous. Electrostatic field lines are also going to be continuous, and they never intersect. So you won't find that field lines are they're intersecting, they won't intersect. And you will find they are going to be forming a closed loop. So this is a striking difference, that's why I'm writing. So magnetic field lines, these lines are in form of closed loops. So this is the difference with the electrostatic properties, and rest properties are similar, like never intersecting, tangent, and intensity, and everything. And there you have studied that the magnetic those electrostatic field lines, they initiate from some charge, terminate to some another charge, plus to minus. They never form a closed loop. So they never form a closed loop, and they always form a closed loop. They means these ones. So magnetic field lines always form closed loops. So that's a starking difference in the magnetic field lines properties, and rest of the properties are similar. So you can copy from there. And we are interested in drawing the magnetic field lines for a bar magnet. So here they have been shown, and you will find this is a bar magnet. So for, the magnetic field lines appears to coming out from the north. So they are coming outwards from the north, and they appears to going inside to the south pole. So that's the one point. In bar magnetic field lines coming out, they appears to come out from the north pole and going into the south pole, and they move outside from north towards south. So this is how their migrations are, and that you might be knowing. And since they are continuous, they are not broken, so what happens when this goes here, it moves inside as well. So that moves inside as well and make the complete loop. So this is how you are getting the complete loop formations. So they are always in the complete closed loop form, and they are never intersecting. So if you draw properly, you'll find none of them is going to intersect. And at any point, if you draw a tangent, that tangent is going to give us the direction of magnetic field. And then if you take any area, and here you'll find here the density is more, so you'll find here magnetic field strength is going to be more, and all those things that we know already in electrostatic field lines we can use over here. Another point that is different is this in this, or that has to be noticed, is this: the magnetic field lines appears to move from north to south outside, but inside they move otherwise. Inside they move from south towards north. So inside the magnetic field lines are moving from south towards north, and outside they are moving from north towards south. And they form a closed loop, and they are as shown over here. This I have ended, that does not mean it terminates over here, it goes somewhere and comes back there, right? Similarly, even this larger one, it goes up to infinite and comes back from there up to infinity. So all are in the form of closed loop. So that's what we need to keep in mind. So I have explained these magnetic field lines and field lines of bar magnet in short, because you have already understood those electric field lines due to electric dipole or maybe electric charge. Similar they are. The difference point I have highlighted, let me again highlight them. One, these field lines are in the closed curve, so always they form a closed loop, and that's different from the electrostatic. And in bar magnet, they appears to come out from the north and terminating at the south, but they are not terminating at the south, rather they emerge from the north and go to the south, and then inside move from south towards north. So inside the bar magnet there is a field, so field is non-zero inside, and outside you can compare at any location. Okay, so for this video that's a sufficient. So in this video we have learned about what is a permanent magnet or bar magnet, how these magnetic properties come in, what is the magnetic dipole moment, and then comparison, and then the fields and their interaction. And that's extremely important chapter. It's mostly theoretical. So in next chapter we will be moving ahead. Till then, have a good time.